invited you because I would like you to respond to some challenges and concerns by other speakers from Asia in particular, who talk about the impact of COVID-19 on the students or on the curriculum or on the university's prospect. To begin with, I'd like to maybe share with you what the concern of Professor So Jun Rok, who is actually the professor for the dance theory at the Seoul University for the Arts, and he has concern over the value system, where because of the COVID-19, students, in order for them to continue, to work with the studies, because facing with the wellness issue that brought by the COVID-19, how do you allow the students continue to have faith, understanding the value system, and also continue to believe in the arts? So maybe you would like to respond to his concern over the value system of actually trying to match with traditional values, and also about now and how to build the understanding for the kids to look into the future. Because it seems that the students right now are a little bit, perhaps, may not be sure what's happening because of the COVID situation. What would you respond in terms of this understanding of value system from the past to the future?
I imagine what he talked about as a value system will be, from the practical aspect, will be really seeing dance as a physical, embodying and face-to-face contact kind of an engagement, and how do we then impart the physical in terms of techniques and expressions that we will want the kids, if it's through just the screen of a Zoom or of a Google. I think the value, interestingly, I was actually thinking of the theme. In fact, when I was reflecting on what we were going to share today, and what I was going to talk about, what came to mind was really the theme that APA School of Dance had for this academic year, which is unity. And it is really with unity that it is not just from the perspective of the teachers, but also the students, that how the two parties actually come together. And I would say that I would not kid ourselves saying that it is the same experience. It's definitely not the same experience. And we were very cautious about definitely the kids. Initially, when everything was moved online, it is also the concern about staring at the screen for too long, right? Mm. And the value of teaching, one part of it in terms of theory will be imparting the knowledge. But where performing arts is concerned, the physical body needs to move in order to have that, embody that experience. And how well we actually manage to get the students embodied, there is a lot of coordinations and changing. Mind you, when the COVID-19 first began, and last year, we had like our curriculum, our timetable in the school. It's like changing. If I cannot say that it's every week, but at least every 2 weeks. So we really move with the flow. That when something happened and we can't do this, and we will have to, we have so many emergency meetings, and to try to see how we can accommodate within the situation that we are in, and to provide what we think that is best for the students. And the school actually went as far as purchasing the mat for the students, so that they have a proper mat at home where they can do all the practical classes. So there is a lot of uncertainty, but I think within the uncertainty, that what we're trying to do is we still try to maintain the feasibility of imparting the skills and knowledge to the students at best we could, and at best we know how.
So I sense that what you are trying to build the consensus over here is to have the shared value, or rather shared belief that we are coming together to be united. Definitely we can overcome the challenges such as COVID-19 that restrict people from actually having the social interaction or having physical lessons in the school, isn't it?
Yes.
I'd like to maybe extend this understanding of physical attributes of the performing arts in relations to what Professor Leila Lee, who is actually a professor at the National Taiwan College of Performing Arts, she stressed that in university, the first core competency to impart the skill sets to the student is of utmost importance, you know. And of course, the second thing that really come into her mind is also about value system. How do you inculcate the overall educational needs to allow the students, you know, to have the understanding and the sensitivity, you know, towards maybe society or maybe towards the people around you. So the second thing is about the value system or imparting that sensitiveness, you know, towards the people or the events or the social things around the students. So based on these two things, one is imparting the skill sets. The second thing is still centered about the sensitivity that actually works around the value system. What is your take about her thoughts on this very important aspect of education?
For me personally, yes, I do agree with her concern, but at the same time, I think this situation that we are in now, it is an unusual situation. So for me, it is imparting the skills becomes secondary for me, but I think the mental health and physical health will be the utmost important for me at this time. And like I said, we do move things, to teach online and all, and probably what we can impart in terms of the physical skills probably is not as ideal as if we have the luxury of the space again in the studios. But I think now it's not about achieving the ultimate proficiency, rather it is really maintaining and keeping their progression. So we probably will not set a standard that is so high as we would normally would, but rather we are thankful that we could do some, because in APA, we sometimes when the situation get better, we allow the students to come back to the studios. But then we follow the concept of a bubble. So this small group of students will always be the one that is in the same studios. So where possible, we will engage them fully. But where that's not possible, we stress their mental health and physical health over their physical skills. Because I think when things get better, when situation get better, and when we are able to go back to our, I do not want to use the word normal, but our regular life, I think they can catch up, right? And for the second point about the sensitivity towards the community, I must say, in all the years that I've been traveling to different countries, working with different people, but has always been in the performing arts and arts, I think people in the arts I would say, have a lot of empathy, more so than others. I think it is because the close connection with the culture, because we say that dance is part of the culture, right? I have, even from the programs that I was involved in the US, teachers from high school, primary schools, community schools, that we come together and we develop the programs that we talk about teaching approaches, for special needs kids and teenagers and even adults. It is really with a lot of sensitivities. So I do not think that dance students lack empathy or lack sensitivity, but I think it is the environment sometimes that, because if it's, take Hong Kong for an example, I mean, since I'm based in Hong Kong, so I'll take Hong Kong as an example, right? Things are very fast paced. And before you know something happened, maybe it is already forgotten. So there isn't a time to really sink in, assimilate. So I think it is more for the leaders, the teachers, the coordinators to sometimes encourage a step back attitude, right? Because when we talk about education, we talk about providing the information, right? And having the formation and eventually having them transformation. So how do we actually have the information to them, for them to have the empathy? In early December last year, I actually created a arts accessibilities workshop for the students, which is also for special needs, and it is, Hong Kong has these organizations that talk about, they actually have programs that reach out to the special needs, either be, the visual impaired or physical impaired. And so many of the students, you'll be surprised that they don't have the opportunity or the venue to experience this. And so through the workshop, they actually understand, oh, there is actually such an organization that has such a program, and they even have some funding. And if the students would like to develop programs, to work with these special needs people, they could actually apply. So sometimes I think it's because the environment does not allow them, does not allow the opportunity to expose. So more and more university, I would say, that it is looking into this. In the US, there is this, you can call it a program, so to say, or study, that is called medicine humanities, which they even involve, because if we talk about medicine, medical students, they are looking at human body. And in humanities, in arts, in performing arts, especially in dance, we are looking at the human body. So how then, they actually have a course for medical students to really look at it, not just from the medical perspective, but from the arts perspective. So if we have more and more of these, to allow students to engage them, to allow them to explore and experience, I think then that sensitivity, sense or vibes of the students will actually grow more visible, which is your theme, that having to glow.
With the introduction of the IT advancement, in this era, like Professor Gujin Yamana was mentioning, because she's from the Ankara University, and she spoke about how her university, using IT to set the pace for students or for the university to advance, to incorporate IT in the learning in the university level. How is your perception or your take in terms of leverage on technology for university programs?
I would say this would be the coming trend. Especially, I think COVID-19 has helped us to move towards this area even faster. It is really a trend that I'm aware a number of universities are looking into this. So you talk about, learning not just of face-to-face, you talk about which is a synchronized or asynchronized learning. And also you talk about, in fact, dance film is beginning to come back again. That dance is, need not be just, in the theater, in the lyric theater or in the black box, that students are encouraged in looking into. In UK, I know in one of the university, they're very much focused in dance flow, right? But the other trend that is also, or rather, one of the trend, number of universities are also looking at alternative learning. So IT is one of the area.
So when it comes to performing arts, is it a challenge to really able to put everything online? I mean, of course, the COVID has actually, in a way, allowed students or universities to try to learn dance online, having physical lesson at home. But do you think that this is something feasible in the long run? Of course, it's about pedagogy, it's about setting the right IT equipment or setting the right space at home. But do you think this may be a trend in university to embark online tools and learning apparatus for dance programs?
Well, I would say it depends. It depends, number one, where the university is. Because I know in Australia, years back, they have had relied on IT because of the vast distance where the students have to travel, especially students in the countryside. So they have used IT. Of course, may not be in such a sophisticated sense as what we look at IT today. I would say yes and no. I think it is a lot to do with your programming, how you program your curriculum. And I would say a blended learning is probably the way to go. So where there are materials where it is possible to do online, that you could have it, you can have it online as a self-learning for the students. But where it is needed to be really a physical presence, then you can have a face-to-face. So I think more and more, it will be more going to this direction. I wouldn't think in terms of performing arts that I can't say any university, but in terms of performing arts, probably I would say most universities will not look at just purely an IT or online course. But I think most universities now will look at a blended course. But again, also depending on whether the university is looking at, is of a conservatory style of training, or whether it is just, a university and non-conservatory style of training. So we know if it's conservatory, then probably the face-to-face will be of a higher percentage, right? So it's really all depends about the programming, how you program it, and what is the educational approach and style that you are actually looking at. So curriculum design, your program design will play a very big part.
As you mentioned that a blended curriculum design could be the trend, and since hybrid mode of teaching will be highly recommended, it doesn't matter what is it, because IT will be part and parcel of our life, isn't it? Yeah. Moving forward, I just want to ask you about a general view, because most of the Asian kids upon graduation, they would love to go to Europe or even the States for future career option, isn't it? So do you think that with the COVID situation, will the perspective will be changed, or do you think that Asia universities are more strong or well prepared to keep them, or rather we have a more potential to grow in Asia than in Europe, that there's a switch in terms of expectation for the graduates? What's your view?
I personally think those who are Eurocentric will be Eurocentric. So if those who has the idea that they want to explore Europe, I'm sure they will want to then find ways to go. And I don't think COVID-19 will keep them behind. You're talking about 18, 19 years old, finishing their high schools, and they want to explore the world. I think they will still would want to explore the world. So I don't think COVID-19 is going to stop them, but I think it probably will hold their plan for a little while. Because I know for the fact that even in APA now, I have students coming to talk to me about and asking me for information in the US, that they are looking to go to the US. So they're not going to stop because of COVID-19. I don't think so. Of course, if they goes into a blended learning, then they probably will have a second thought. And if I'm going to have online learning, I might as well then just stay in Hong Kong, rather than going to US. Expenses are high, and mind you, Hong Kong expenses are not low as well. So I would say that those who wants to go to the US and the Europe, they would, because I think there must be a drawing point, right? So like when I go to the US, was because I know there are programs there that I'm interested in. So I went. And when I went to UK, it's because that there is such and such a professor there that I would like to be able to learn from her. So I went. So that there must be a drawing point for individuals who wants to go abroad. Yeah.